Pardon the interruption, but I'm Pablo Torre. It is Be a Kid Again Day, Tony. So what do you miss the most about being a kid?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. The dinosaurs. They were great. They were fun to play with. What happened to the dinosaurs? You know?
Yeah, you taking a slide down a brontosaurus's neck, Flintstone style. I can imagine you befriending.
Yeah. You know, Ride. Yeah, we used to play Ride the Team. Big cheers. And we begin today, Pablo, with baseball and numbers from last night. We start with 300, the number of home runs Shohei Ohtani now has in his 9-year career. Then 10, the number of RBI Pittsburgh's Ryan O'Hearn had last night against Atlanta. Then 12, the number of consecutive hits Kansas City's Tyler Tolbert got to last night. Then 14, the number of Reds Philadelphia's Zach Wheeler struck out. And finally 17, the number of strikeouts by Yankee batters for a second straight night. Pablo, which number is most intriguing to you?
This is one heck of a summer A1, Tony. I love the baseball potpourri. I love what do you like, and I like 300. I do. Shohei Ohtani is the story, and not just because I'm a Yankee fan who was traumatized by the fact that it's 17 strikeouts in 2 straight games. It's the idea that you look down the list of historical figures who've gone to 300 this quick in terms of plate appearances, and it's a bunch of guys that I will name for you. It is Aaron Judge, Ralph Kiner, Ryan Howard, Juan Gonzalez, and all those guys, according to Sarah Langs, who's done this math quite helpfully, have combined for 0 pitching appearances, while also being just faster than Shohei Ohtani with the home runs. And so to me, Ohtani having his first two-way season in 3 seasons, looking healthy, coming back, I just think you lead your newspaper with Ohtani until proven otherwise.
Yeah, you left 2 out. You left out Alex Rodriguez and you left out Giancarlo Stanton. Those are the 6 people who got to 300 home runs quicker than Ohtani, who has taken 1,121 games. And I agree with that completely. The only person or persons, you know, you have to list Aaron Judge and maybe A-Rod that are in Ohtani's orbit. But yes, the question for both of them is, how many innings have you pitched? Yes, you're 100% right about that. I'm going to go through some of the other numbers. I am stunned by 10 RBI in a game. That is now the record in Pittsburgh. And here are some names in Pittsburgh that don't have that record. Ralph Kiner, who you mentioned as a big home run hitter, Stargell, Clemente, Dave Parker, and Barry Bonds. But for me, Pablo, the number that breaks out is the 12. 12 consecutive hits. Okay, so you don't get on by an error. You don't get on by a walk. You don't get on because the pitcher hit you. These are 12 consecutive hits by a player who was a journeyman. This is a 28-year-old player now only in his 2nd year in the majors. This is only, the other night, his 94th career game. He is mostly put in, you know, as a pinch runner and as a defensive replacement. So the question for him is, where have you been all my life? And the only 2 people who have ever done this before, or I'm sure you're familiar with Johnny Kling in 1902. I am familiar, at least, with Walt Dropo in 1952. Those are big numbers. I want to get to your number, though, as a Yankee fan. 17 strikeouts, 2 games in a row, without Aaron Judge contributing to the strikeouts because he's hurt. Like, if I'm you, I'm a little bit nervous about this. I am worried about this.
I am worried, and Aaron Judge is the name that we can land on here because Aaron Judge, when the Yankees have him in the lineup, the sample size is well over 150 games now. They're the greatest team in baseball. When they don't have them, they're close to the opposite, and that would be the concern. I mean, the pitching, of course, always the concern. The bullpen's been great. The starting pitching, less so. But that lineup, which is supposed to be the calling card, I think you need the giant dude at the center of it, even though this is a sport where ostensibly you don't just need one giant dude. But I suppose
34 Ks in 2 games.
More
34.
Not
a lot of games.
I don't. Yeah, I get it. The Rays, 4 games ahead of us, noted. I want to move, Tone, to more fallout from the U.S. men's loss to Belgium at the World Cup, because the focus with this story has now fixed on Christian Pulisic's lack of performance in that game. He lost a game-high 11 possessions in the first half, which was embarrassing. Then he left early in the second with an injury, which was maybe infuriating to some. So if you were writing a column on Pulisic today, what would your angle be?
All right, so like I did this for a living. I wrote a sports column. I know how this works. The angle on Christian Pulisic is not just what happened in that game. It's the fact he had no goals. He had no goals in the World Cup this time. 4 games, no goals. And this is the wonder boy, right? This is the lead actor in the play. This is the guy who's going to lead the United States World Cup team to new and unprecedented heights, and he had no goals. The guy with the red card had all the goals. It wasn't Pulisic. And yes, he's getting slammed around for this. I mean, he had an injury. He was asked about the injury after the game. His quote was, "I sprained my ankle. It's frustrating to end like that, but now I get time to rest, so it will be okay." That doesn't bother me, but it bothered Carly Lloyd. And Carly Lloyd's got 2 World Cups. You know, she was on 2 World Cup winning teams. Her quote was, "You rest when your playing career is over." That is a shot at Pulisic. Landon Donovan, who has played on the United States World Cup team more than once, he tried to review all of Pulisic's career, and he basically said, in fact, he specifically said, in easy games, he's there and he scores a lot of goals, but part of that quote is, you know, it's more than just a trend now. In big moments, in big games, he just hasn't delivered, and that is a real slap. You know, I mean, you can't back off and say, but I'm not criticizing him, because you are criticizing him. You're leading him to the water and dunking his feet in the water. Yes.
Well, and the other part is that 30 million people, more than there's ever been, to watch a U.S. men's national team play in a World Cup, watched this game. This is not the sort of thing that was just kept in a closet for the soccer super fans to assess. This was your broad introduction to the world. And so, look, this is the story to me. It's that wearing that label, let's read between the lines there, of soft, is really hard to come back from. And it's because he took the Gold Cup off to rest up for the World Cup. And it's because it makes me think of a nickname that you once gave one of your old local heroes, Steven Strasberg, because you used to call him what?
You know what I
The Orchid, I believe.
The Orchid.
The Orchid.
The Orchid. Yeah, it's
and
the
so
Orchid. Yeah, blooms on
needing
certain times.
optimal
Really sunny
circumstances
days.
when you're supposed to be the guy. I mean, that is more than just a performance issue. That's a character issue too now.
The column has to be about Pulisic's immediate failures. There's no question about that. Oftentimes, Pablo, the losing locker room is the best place for the column, and I suspect that would be it. I don't know how much he would talk about it, but I suspect that would be it. That, you know, you didn't deliver, and you really didn't deliver. Let's move to Wimbledon. Yesterday, we ended up on this show on ESPN2 because Novak Djokovic was in the process of taking 5 hours and 15 minutes to beat Felix Auger-Aliassime in 5 sets. Tiebreakers in the first, fourth, and fifth. Djokovic, the 7th seed, now draws the number 1 seed, Jannik Sinner, in Friday's semifinal. On the women's side, Coco Gauff is the highest seed left in the semis at number 7. She will face Karolina Muchova, the 10th seed, in the semis. Pablo, what chance do you give the 7 seeds, Djokovic and Gauff, of reaching the finals, or anything else you got about Wimbledon you want to talk about?
Yeah, so the column I would write is Djokovic. And we've talked about this previously, I forget which year it was, in which you were moved to get off your couch and applaud. Because that's how stunning it was that Djokovic was outperforming his age. And he's 39 years old, and of course Jannik Sinner, who he's going to face, is 24. And so here's the story to me. It's that Djokovic, playing the longest quarterfinal match in the history of Wimbledon, which, according to my records, is a pretty long history, is the guy who refuses to leave the party. He knows that Alcaraz is injured. He knows that Sinner's coming for everything he did. But Djokovic, Tony, is there every time. He's somehow still there, and he's hanging on by tiebreak, by tiebreak, by tiebreak, 5 hours and 15 minutes later. Now, can it be sustained? I hope he gets to. I hope that story continues. But right now, we got to celebrate that he hasn't let go of that rope yet.
So it's a complicated issue for me because people who watch this show know that I am not keen on Novak Djokovic, but I am a great admirer of his talent and his record. If he wins Wimbledon, that's his 25th major. That's more than anybody ever.
Crazy.
All right, and so if he wants to say he's the GOAT, it's very hard to refute that if he's got more than anybody ever. I mean, he has been many of his, if not most of those majors that he's won, Federer and Nadal were out there. These are great players. It's hard to beat them, and he was beating them. He has gotten lucky here on a couple of levels. One, Alcaraz is not in the tournament. He has to play Sinner, but he doesn't have to play Sinner and Alcaraz. He's 39 years old. Sinner is 24 years old. You're giving away a lot, and you're giving away you just played 5 sets and over 5 hours. But you get lucky again because it's a 2-day layoff. You don't have to play the semifinal against the guy who you lost to in the semis at Wimbledon last year. You don't have to play it for 2 days of full rest, which, as they say in the trade, is gold, Jerry. That's gold. Look, I think Goff is going to win. You know, she's the only one left. She's won 2 majors. She's the only one left among the women who has won a major. But the actual great story in Wimbledon is this qualifier kid, the wild card kid, Arthur Ferry, ranked 119th in the world, who grew up blocks away in Wimbledon. Kid. Everybody is going to cheer for him against Zverev, if I pronounce that right. He's going to be the Wyndham Clark of England. He's going to get booed every single time he hits the ball. That's going to be something. Let's take a break. Yeah. Coming up, where is LeBron most likely to end up? We're going to ask Brian Windhorst.
We're also going to ask him what happens with the Warriors if they don't land LeBron.
By the way, going back to the soccer for a second, after that Belgian game, nobody sat around and sang "Take Me Home, Country Roads, West Virginia," did they? No. When the coach was kicking water bottles. No. That was
Landon Donovan was like,
Collective Podcast, PTI's Omaha Bureau Chief, Mr. Brian Windhorst. Brian, let's start with the big one, the elephant in the room. Where is LeBron most likely to end up?
I don't have a strong answer for you, Tony. I can speculate, but it would just be that. With the teams talking to LeBron right now, there's a lot of one-way conversations. They're saying things to Rich Paul. In the case of Bob Myers, he went on Rich Paul's podcast, I believe, basically to speak to LeBron James and pitch him on the Philadelphia 76ers. There's very little or no information coming back, including on what a timeline would be. Now, when I talk to some of these teams that are chasing LeBron, they remain hopeful that their pitches will be received, but they say to me, don't you think he's going to go to Cleveland at the end of the day? And I say, look, if there's no other good options, I think Cleveland would be the default. So what LeBron, I think, is waiting for is for an option to present itself that's more compelling than going home to Cleveland. And because he's going to sign for significantly less than his value, he has no penalty in waiting. So he'll be on the golf course tomorrow, Tony, waiting for something to develop that may catch his eye.
I just like that the teams are asking you, Brian, what you think as they're trying to figure out what they think. But
they can't get information otherwise.
Well, I've learned this about the business. The Warriors, though, what if they don't get LeBron? What happens to them next?
Well, they have been big game hunting for months now, Pablo. We know they tried to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. We know the year before they tried to get Kevin Durant. 2 years ago, they tried to get LeBron James at the trade deadline. So they have 3 tradable first-round picks. They have Kristaps Porzingis, who they signed to a $20 million a year contract that is eligible to be traded right now. They are saying very clearly that they do not intend to trade Jimmy Butler. So I think they will continue to go big game hunting and continue to be opportunistic. That is how they got Jimmy Butler, a year and a half ago at this point. But I think basically they're going to just have to wait for the market to develop. And the biggest thing for them is Jimmy Butler's health. Their big addition to this roster at the end of the day could be getting Jimmy Butler back healthy at mid-season or around then. And if it's not LeBron James, that might be their big addition.
I want to swing the camera back to the Celtics for a second here, though, because the big move Brad Stevens made, obviously, trading Jaylen Brown. Brad Stevens has now talked about it, the president of basketball ops in Boston. What did you make of what Stevens said about that trade?
I don't think he's being 100% honest, which is understandable. I don't think he's fully articulating the reasons that he traded Jaylen Brown, because the reasons that he gives publicly are not compelling. They seem wishy-washy. No. And Brad Stevens is not wishy-washy, right? They came to a firm understanding. He said that he lost sleep over what the fan reaction would be. He didn't say he lost sleep over making the deal. So I think what the Celtics are doing here is they're trying to be at the cutting edge of the NBA. And the cutting edge of the NBA is not having players that are overpaid versus their production and having a lot of depth and a lot of youth. That's what I think the Celtics are trying to lean into. Now, you may come back to me and say, well, wait a minute. Paul George is expensive and he's old and he hasn't been healthy. How does that help them get there? And that is a fair point. But I think what Brad Stevens believes is a shorter contract for Paul George, more tradable. The draft assets that they got, can either be traded or used themselves, and that they can get closer where they want to be. But I agree, if you're a Celtics fan, it looks a little hazy as to what they're doing.
We will get you out of here on this. Is there any buzz about what we have already seen early in the Salt Lake Summer League?
Yes. Darren Peterson, my God, does he look impressive. Now, there's nobody ever doubted his talent coming out of Kansas. People questioned his health. People questioned his makeup. He came out on that court and showed an entire offensive NBA-ready package, fully furnished. He scored at all three levels: step backs, drives, in transition, in isolation, coming off pick and roll. It was as impressive as I have seen from a guard coming into his first Summer League games in my career. And he's got an incredible moment on Thursday night. He will have played 2 games, has some rhythm, and gets to play the Washington Wizards and A.J. Debonsa. And he clearly articulated he wanted to send a message to the world about his game against Cam Boozer the other night, where he had a brilliant game, 25 points and 12 assists. I think he's going to want to send a message in this game against Washington on Thursday. I know it's just a Summer League game, but I have been extremely impressed with him. By the way, I was also impressed with Cam Boozer. He looked very good, hit a bunch of three-pointers, showed everything he could from Memphis in Salt Lake City. But boy, am I looking forward to see what Peterson can show off when he plays games in Vegas as well.
Absolutely. I mean, he wants to show Washington that they were wrong, that they picked the wrong guy, right? That's going to be his motivation. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, guys.
Let's take one last break. Still happy time, people. Happy 74th birthday, Jack Lambert. The Hall of Fame linebacker was an anchor on Pittsburgh's steel curtain defense. Linebackers were Lambert, Jack Ham, and Andy Russell. Up front were players like Mean Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood, Dwight White, and Ernie Holmes. On the back line were players like Mel Blount and Donnie Shell. There were great offensive players as well, like Terry Bradshaw, Lynn Swann, John Stallworth, Franco Harris, Rocky Blyer, and the center, Mike Webster. But the 4 Super Bowls those Steelers won were mostly because of the defense. And when you think of that defense, the names that jump out first are Joe Green and Jack Lambert.
And of course, you mentioned Mean Joe, but Jack Lambert being Jack Splat and Dracula in cleats, underrated nicknames in the annals of football history, I believe.
Happy anniversary, Ken Griffey Sr. On this day 46 years ago. Near the end of his run on the Big Red Machine, the Cincinnati Reds outfielder hit a home run off Tommy John and was named MVP of the 1980 All-Star Game. 12 years later, at the age of 22, Ken Griffey Jr. was named MVP of the 1992 All-Star Game. The Griffeys are the only father and son duo to accomplish this feat in baseball history. Bobby Hull and Brett Hull are the only hockey father and son to win the NHL All-Star Game MVP. Bobby won in 1970 and 71. Brett won in 1992. Vlad Guerrero Sr. and Jr. have won baseball's home run derby, but only Jr. won an All-Star Game MVP.
I'm doing my demographic research. I'm fairly confident that all professional sports will just be the sons of former athletes pretty soon. Jalen Brunson, of course, just the most recent example of you don't even need your dad to be that good at basketball to be great yourself. So congratulations to everybody who isn't.
Happy trails to an easy out at first for the Royals. Calamity struck in the first inning of last night's game against the Mets. With runners at first and second and 2 outs, Carson Bench of the Mets hit a chopper back to the pitcher. But Seth Lugo threw it away, allowing 1 run to score. A terrible second throw followed, and then a third, allowing Bo Bichette and Bench to score. That's a 3-run Little League home run. It's a play we've come to expect from the Mets, not the Royals. Of course, the Mets would end up gagging away a 9-4 lead and losing 16-12.
I like how that was almost kind to the Mets, except at the end when you revealed actually, joke's on you, you are still very much the Mets.
16-12. When I saw that score,
yeah, that's bad.
That's 16-12. Let's go to the big finish.
Suboptimal.
Egypt has filed a formal complaint with FIFA about the officiating in yesterday's loss to Argentina. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense, and also the only thing you can do, it was injustice. They cannot remain silent about that. I'm glad they are not. Chris Middleton, meanwhile, ended up back on your Wizards. After a 6-team trade, are you excited?
Yeah, it's great. He's 50 years old at this point. I mean, the Wizards are now not only collecting the #1 pick, they're collecting a bunch of veterans too. I don't know what they're doing. It's the 16th anniversary of the decision. How do you remember it?
Vividly, as a template-setting show for an era that could only be so influential because it was also embarrassing to the people who made it. And I'm glad it exists, even though it kind of blew everything up. Justin Verlander, he has announced that this will be his last season. Your thoughts?
He's been hurt all year. He hasn't really pitched at all. He's got 266 wins. I don't know that anybody will top that in the future. He's going straight to Cooperstown in 5 years. Last one, World Cup tomorrow. France, Morocco at 4. Who you got?
Of course, the betting lines say France, but the heart says Morocco. I'm rooting for Morocco. Give me Morocco.
Really? Over France? Really? We're out of time.
That's right.
Try to do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.